Today's episode is brought to you by My Dong. That's right, we're talking about My Dong on the show. Oh, what a time to be alive.
Drop the beat!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast. I'm your host, The Blevins, and with me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, my man. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
It's gonna be a long episode for me. I have a feeling.
I know we're late to start, and we're already riddled with errors and everything. Who knows? I don't know.
Right on time, then.
Right. Absolutely nothing is different. All right. Well, let's get right into it. Start off with our normal housekeeping. Guys, I hate to say it. Closed beta is coming to an end. It's sad times. I don't even have a sad
Need a minute.
I know. I know. I don't even have a sound clip to play. It's just too sad. It's too sad for a sound clip. It's too sad for everything.
Moment of silence.
Moment of silence. Okay. That was exactly one moment. Actually, that was like 3/4 of a moment, but
It was nonetheless. It was recognized and observed.
it was probably the first time ever that you and I have been on the same channel, and that channel has been silent for more than 0 seconds.
Actually, correct. I'm pretty sure.
But with the ending of, I can't even say it, with the ending of the closed beta, we are also going to be, not ending, we're going to be taking a break.
Yes.
Because as the early days of High Noon indicated, we don't have a whole heck of a lot to talk about when there's no tournaments, because, again, we are the competitive Overwatch podcast. So if there's not competitive Overwatch to be played, and there's not even Overwatch at all to be played, then you don't need to listen to us two idiots talk about it, because there's nothing to talk about.
No, we'll talk about Game of Thrones because that's coming back.
Yep.
We would talk about Rocket League,
Clash Royale.
Yeah, Clash Royale. So we're gonna do you guys a favor, and we're just gonna shut up for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're going to be taking about a month break. So that means, guys, next week, the 25th, yes, the 25th of April,
Yes.
is the last day of the beta and is the last day of Season 1 of High Noon Podcast. And for those of you who have been listening since the very beginning, you remember that we talked about one time that we were going to do seasons, and we're sticking to it.
You need to put on your Lord of the Rings storytelling voice, harken back to episode 1.
Harken back to episode 1. I don't know why. It's Deckard Cain all of a sudden.
Yes, instantly Deckard Cain. That's okay. That's fast becoming your default voice, but it's a good one.
Guy voice.
But yeah, so like you said, a month off. We'll be coming back with season 2, or the first live season. I don't know. This has been kind of a beta season, everything about it, but it will be officially titled season 2, and the number sequence will start over. So when you see episode 201 on there, you'll know that we're back.
Yes. So we will be ending season 1 and starting season 2 when the game is released. So that'll be fun times. But we'd like to take this time now to thank and really stop and thank our season 1 partners. In Creation Esports and Matcherino. They've both been super helpful for us. Creation has been on, with us since not the very, very beginning, but pretty early on. They've been on
really
with us.
Quick.
We've been partnered with them. They've helped us and we've helped them. It's been great. So they've been there. They've been there for us, and we've been there for them.
They have definitely helped us. That is for sure. Like you said, like John said, we greatly appreciate everything from Omri and Wojtek, everybody over at Creation. We've loved watching them. They had kind of an initial team signing that was fun to watch at the beginning, and then they ended up picking up Flat Earth before. Yeah. As we talked about last week. Did we?
No, we didn't talk about.
No,
we didn't. Remember, we didn't spoil it. My God, it was so hard.
But we couldn't tell you.
We knew it, and it was so hard.
So big congratulations to them. Huge signing. Didn't pay off with immediate tournament wins this week, as we'll get into, but strong showings and just a phenomenal group of players there. The old Flat Earth, now Creation Esports. So congratulations to them for that big signing.
Yeah, absolutely, and they are definitely in the mix and talked about at all the tournaments. Everyone was talking about how. Everyone was like, where's Creation this tournament at the Gamers Origin tournament, which we will talk about in a second. And also, again, thanks to Matcherino as well. They've helped us with some stuff on the side. We're also still kind of talking with them for some stuff we can't quite announce yet. We're still working out some details, but that should be fun. For them. And they also they've brought to you, for those of you who listen to on SoundCloud, you can thank Matcherino for that as well. They have allowed us to use SoundCloud on a regular basis, so that's good. Thank you for Matcherino. If you guys don't know about Matcherino, pretty much any tournament that you guys watch almost every tournament you guys watch is going to have a Matcherino sponsorship. If they've really. We were talking about Matcherino before we even started working with them. They've really stepped up the game for Overwatch specifically, and I'm sure for other games as well, for the competitive scene and really getting the prize pool out to the players and getting these high-level teams in the mix. Would we be seeing the Cloud9 signings, the Envious signings, the all those teams? The Team Liquid signs? We'd be seeing all those, competitive level teams if the players weren't there at the beginning, and they wouldn't be there if the prize pools weren't there. So, really, huge thanks to Matcherino for helping us, and in a greater sense, helping the Overwatch competitive community as well. So, huge thanks to them. But yes, to get back on point, we are going to be taking a month vacation. So next week, guys, is the last one that you'll see us in Season 1. So
we're going to travel the world. See the sights.
We're going to see everything.
We're salty. We can't play Overwatch. Yeah, just like everybody.
That's basically what it's going to be. But let's move on to our first regularly scheduled segment, which I remembered correctly this time. What did we do last week? Death, let's start with you, buddy.
Well, I've just been kind of hanging out. We talked last week how I had a team we were going to try to get into the ESL tournament. That team is not, esports teams are fickle beasts. So we're kind of reforming, retooling a little bit. And obviously with this announcement and the surge of invitational and league style tournaments that you need to be expressly invited to, kind of dominating the end of beta here, hurt our ability to get rolling with that. So getting close to master rank. So hopefully I can achieve that in the next day or two, bring that fine news to you guys that I successfully accomplished that goal by next week's episode, because otherwise that's it, I'm done. Won't have another opportunity to play anymore. So, nope. But yeah, other than that, just been continuing the job search and getting ready for, let's see, man, I had some fantasy football stuff going on because of my Dynasty League. The NFL draft's coming up, so it's a good little stretch of a couple weeks here for me.
Yeah, and you know what else is coming up next week? Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I started rewatching from episode 1 yesterday.
Okay, we still haven't started a Game of Thrones podcast, so I think it still could be in the back pocket for sure.
We'll wait until it's more relevant, and definitely not too late to do it. I think that's a good plan.
It's only going to be getting bigger and bigger every single season. But yeah, so let's see, what in the world did I do last week? Oh, I played some Overwatch. So you may or may not imagine, played a little bit of Overwatch. I played some. I didn't play that much competitive though. I think I've played a grand total of 3 games in competitive. Maybe 4.
Yeah, we were talking about it. It's going to be really quick, and hopefully by tomorrow, the game would not allow me to queue with you and your pleb status that you've achieved by just refusing to hit that competitive button and play in those games. I don't want to play
competitive solo. That just sounds awful.
A lot of my friends swear by it. I won't do it. I got so much work done last night with a random group of 6 guys I've never met before, except for the one that knew all of them. We got in. We were probably 5-1, except it was actually 5-2, but we got put on Brazilian servers for a match, so I personally don't count those. But yeah, it's definitely interesting because you queue up with groups. You're, more so I feel like than in quick play, you're destined to play against groups. And if you queue with four, you might play against a group of five. So sometimes you're at a disadvantage when you do that.
True. And, maybe I should play in competitive games. I just, I just don't care about the preseason legend or whatever. Like, I don't care about much of anything in Overwatch right now in terms of the stuff you get, because it's all gonna. Yeah. I don't care about Overwatch.
This game's stupid.
I said it. I hate Overwatch. The jig is up. I never liked it. No, I'm kidding. But no, I really don't care about like the stuff you get. Like, people are like, oh, what skin should I buy? Like, what should I do with my gold? I'm like, I just don't care. Like, it's all gonna reset on May 24th. So then I'll start the real grind.
Yeah, I haven't gotten super invested in anything. I mean, I really like the new skins. I want the cool ones.
I love all the skins. The skin. Don't get me wrong. The skins, the sprays, all the cosmetic stuff is awesome. I just don't care about it right now.
Yeah, I've just been like really stupidly spending it on just like whatever I feel like at the time, because there's just no point in worrying about it one way or the other at the moment.
But actually, speaking of worrying about it, I did worry about it because the last stream I had, I opened up two boxes in a row were legendaries. Okay, the first legendary box, and by the way, right now in the beta, the loot boxes are bugged, so they all look white. Yeah. So you don't know what color it is until you actually open it. I'm like, it's white. I'm like, oh, this is probably blue. I click it, and it's gold. I see the gold up from above. I'm looking up. Oh, it's gold. I'm going to get a legendary. Yes, finally. And it was gold. I got gold.
Like currency, he means.
Currency,
yeah.
I mean, I got currency. I'm like, oh. Okay, whatever. That's fine.
That's the best drop, though.
It's the worst drop. I open up my next box. Second one, right afterwards, another legendary. I'm like, oh, man, look at it. Rains down from above. I'm like, even if this is gold, I'm going to be happy because I'm going to get to buy whatever legendary I want. And you know what it is? It's not a duplicate. It's a non-duplicate Tracer legendary skin, which, okay, that's fine. The normal, like, okay, I could see playing the one you get in a pack over the Origins one, which I obviously have. But I also have another Tracer legendary skin. So now I just have 3 different Tracer legendary skins. So it literally was the worst skin I could have opened at legendaries.
Yeah, I opened the Valkyrie Mercy, and normally that would be sweet, especially I've been playing a lot more Mercy lately as I move to support. But like, I already had Sigrun Mercy.
Which one's that?
It's just the recolor of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And like, I'm colorblind, so I like flip between them and can't tell a difference between them regardless. And I'm just oh.
Yeah, I got a color swap of a different legendary. So I have like both of the like Racer Tracer ones. It's like,
right.
It wasn't even the good, like the punk one that I wanted.
Yeah.
First world problems, man.
Rip Levens.
Yeah, the worst. I had two legendary drops in a row. Both of them were the worst possible drops. I would have rather just not gotten a loot box. But
you'll have to change your attitude on that gold though when it comes around, because when you keep everything.
Once the gold comes around, that'll be great because I'll be hoarding gold. That'll be great.
Right.
Now I've just been spending it willy-nilly like an idiot. But I need to save a little bit of salt so that I'll have. I need to save a month's worth of salt while we can't play. So. That I need to just tone it back a little bit. But let's move on to our second regularly scheduled program, the Tournament Talk. Let's start off with what we would normally start off with, which is the Creation Esports King of the Watch tournament. Last weekend, or I guess last Friday, there was no King of the Watch tournament because of the stress test weekend, which maybe we should take a second to talk about the stress test weekend. That was kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of funny how our views of the stress test weekend have changed so drastically from the first time it was around to the second time.
I don't even know if we might get hate tweets if I tell people how I viewed this stress test weekend.
Well, let's start off. The first time the stress test weekend came around was the first time I ever got in. The first time you ever played. So it was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was so happy. I had to physically restrain myself from when I got the email just leaving work without saying anything.
Right.
I had to restrain myself from doing that. Go home, play for 1,000,000 hours. Greatest thing ever. Greatest day of my life, not close. getting to play Overwatch the first time. Now it's like stress test weekend, and when we see it announced, we're like, this is gonna be great. No, it was I don't know about your experience, Death. I think you probably played a little bit more than me, but it was just an amalgamation of lack of coordination and me getting more gold medals than I deserved.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. We knew going into it that you were not going to have, if you were an open beta participant, you were not going to have access to ranked play or the brawl mode. You were only going to have quick play as an option, and the map pool was limited to Route 66, Nepal, and
Hanamura,
yes, Potato Gardens,
and Lijiang. No, wait, was it Lijiang?
No, it was just 3. No, just Nepal.
Just 3, yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, Nepal, yeah.
So it was definitely a really, really interesting experience. Kind of ruined those maps for me. So thanks for that.
That made those maps better.
Route 66 is so much fun that I didn't actually get burnt out on it. I was a little sick of Hanamura again because it was in the last weekend. So
Potato Garden's best map ever.
Yeah, it's probably my most played map of any from my experience so far, given the 2 weekends. But I definitely viewed it as I know 6 people that have been in the beta for months, and if we press play, we're going to get 6 people that have had the beta for 6 minutes. And that's exactly what happened. So I was farming noobs all weekend. I mean, in all seriousness, no, we did still kind of stick together a little bit, but we were bringing in our friends. So it wasn't actually 6 people that had all been, so we all had people we knew because it was a wide invite pool. Phelan got in.
Phelan did get in.
Yes, so if anybody still remembers Phelan, we told him that a mandatory appearance would be required now that he's been able to try the game. That was before we knew we had one more episode after today.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can actually make that happen with his work schedule, but we are still planning to bring him back. There's, we'll get another wanted sign somewhere here.
And we're also planning on having Hex on the show, but we couldn't because, we'll talk about it in a second, but the Overkill GG tournaments are going on as we speak. Which is why we
don't go watch that till later.
Which is why we got to hurry up the episode because we both want to watch.
Yes, very much so. But it was definitely a good experience. Though I was surprised because us regular beta participants still had ranked play access. So we weren't actually just farming noobs the whole time. We were able to go in and play some ranked when we did have a full group. But it was, it looked like people were really enjoying it. I've seen, other than just the normal salty or terribly uneducated balance suggestions, I have, really not seen much negative feedback come from it. There were a good amount of server hiccups, though, so clearly they needed it. And I think they invited enough people that they got a true stress test. Friday was a little brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal. I definitely got either DC'd or had weird glitches quite a bit. I remember talking about it. The first weekend we played, I didn't notice anything. Almost nothing different or off about it. But this time it was there's definitely a little something off on some of the times. But overall, I think it's good. It was good for the game. I think it got a lot of new people. I had a lot of people who viewers of mine who were saying, "Hey, I got to play for the first time this week, and they really liked it." So that's great, and maybe some of them will watch the podcast, and who knows. But we actually had some people who had watched the podcast but weren't able to play, and then got to play in the beta weekend. So that's kind of cool. But back to the King of the Watch that we were going to talk about. Didn't happen last week because of the stress test weekend, but it is planned to happen this week. So this Friday it's going to happen. We don't know the participants yet. We do know one of them is going to be reunited.
Yeah, they are the current king.
They are the king. We know they're coming back for another week. The challenger is undetermined yet. And I'm actually not sure. I haven't gotten word yet if they're going to do the little challenger match beforehand to see who the challenger gets to be, or if they're going to just go right into it, just have the one match. I don't think it's been announced by Creation, but you can always check them out. Follow them on Twitter at Creation Esports, and also check out creationesports.com. Also, while you're there, they're having a CSGO giveaway, which obviously doesn't have much to do with Overwatch, but it is a pretty sweet giveaway. They're giving away this insane sniper rifle that's worth like $1 bajillion, like actually $1 bajillion. I think that's what it says. You go on Steam, you check up how much it's worth, and it just says $1 bajillion. The Dragon rifle sniper thing. I don't know. I entered the giveaway.
You don't have enough credit cards to buy one.
Exactly.
So you might as well just try to win it.
Yeah, you might as well just try to win it. Check it out, CreationEsports.com/giveaway. But we did see some tournaments this weekend. And actually during the week before the stress test, we saw the Overkill.gg league that we talked about a little bit last week. It's been kind of cool. It's been a pretty sweet little league. Again, we said it's starting soon if you're listening to this live, but we'll finish up. We'll finish up before they start. Don't worry. Don't even check about when it starts.
I know. We got confirmed from Chad. It's not going on right now, so we have to start talking a little faster.
Yes, I can talk as fast as we need to. But the Overkill.gg tournament league is pretty sweet, and they're going to be crowning the king of the beta, which is kind of a cool thing as well. So we're going to see the king of the beta. But let me just go real quickly over the stats we have on that, the standings rather. Today is going to be the second round or second wave of NA games. So the EU has actually played has played one additional round, I believe. So right now we've got Cloud9 at 2-0. We've got LG Luminosity at 2-0 as well. We've got Team Liquid at a disappointing 0-2, and then we have what was Envious, which is now Grouchy Desperados, also at 0-2. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a later segment about that whole debacle, but we'll talk about that later. So now the EU has actually played two more matches. We've got Reunited at 4-0, IDQD, the original team, I guess. We'll talk a little bit about that too. At 3-1, we've got Creation at 1-3, and we've got Impulse 11 at 0-4. So this is the first. Is it the first tournament, or did Creation play in a?
No, this tournament started. This league started one day after they signed.
Right.
So it was their, like, I think it was actually the day after the podcast. So it was like the morning it could have been announced was their first time on stream as Team Creation. Really just, I mean, had a really strong showing last week too. This whole league event, I love that these guys aren't eliminated. You can watch a team lose and then see them play against somebody else right away. You know, I love watching these teams, seeing their strategies, seeing how they adapt to what the other lineup is, you know, what hero swaps they're using, things like that. And you get a way better feel for it in an environment like this, where it's not just instantly one and done, or, you know, the Invitational was double elimination. But even that's kind of, in the similar vein. This is everybody's going to play everybody twice, I believe. Might even be 3 times. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, everybody plays against each other a bunch, and then they kind of go merge the groups together to
there's
to
a
figure
playoff.
out the champion.
Yeah, there's a playoff. I think the interleague play is up until the 20th, and then they haven't announced the playoffs yet. But I'm sure that's going to just be based around, you know, when we're actually going to be able to play. It's probably going to be soon after, because it ends on the 20th. There's only 5 more days to play, so they're probably going to be getting it, you know, going soon after that. But yeah, I really like the league play. I'd like to see, you know, maybe a longer stretched league, almost like a season. Maybe maybe if Blizzard did like an official season, almost like I don't know. Like you know, traditional sports where, you know, they play a certain number of games, they have a season, you can plan out games, and then that feeds into a huge playoffs at the end of the season. Who knows? You know, maybe that's something we could see at some point. I'm sure League of Legends probably has something similar to that, right? I think League and Dota probably have something close to that. I don't know.
I would think they have to. What I want to see is just it expanded and have more than 4 teams in each division.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's one thing that, you know, it's not really, to say it's not really fair, but I'm just going to give you an example. I mean, it is fair because they're playing the matchups and you're just looking at the standings. But teams will get a bad rap for performing poorly through the group stages, and it's not really a fair rap, I think, to lay on them. For example, you look at Impulse 11, I believe they are 0-4, have not picked up a win yet anywhere across this tournament. This was the third place team in the Invitational. They swept all these teams through the losers bracket except for Reunited, and that's the only reason they didn't go into the finals against Cloud9. So, you know, you kind of take away the ability with a league play, which is both good and bad, to have that hot streak, to go on that run and make that big name for yourself because it's played over a longer stretch of time. But at the same time, maybe you get a more consistent feel for who the best teams are overall. But, you know, looking at the bottom of these brackets, you see Impulse 11 and Team Liquid kind of hanging out at the bottom. Sorry, Team Liquid, you guys had probably a worse showing than Impulse 11 last week. It looked brutal, but I mean, you can tell these guys know what they're doing, and it's just when you limit it to, you know, you had Luminosity with their roster changes almost seemed to level up from their changes. They didn't seem to need time to get used to the new guys. They seemed better instantly. And, you know, obviously Envy was right there as well. I think they're also 0-2, so those teams are going to have to meet up, which is now Grouchy Desperados, as we said before. But a really interesting tournament style, and it's been really fun to watch so far. So definitely make sure you keep an eye on it all this week. And like John said, we don't have the details for the finals, but you'll want to make sure you see that, because whoever comes out on top on the EU side has got quite a matchup against Cloud9 ahead of them. And any team that can make its way through a bracket with as many good teams as the EU side has to have at least a decent chance. I don't think Cloud9's quite yet the old IDDQD. There's not that big of a gap, but it's close. It is close, I do think. And it'll be curious to see what it looks like, because in the Invitational, nobody looked close. It looked like that gap was just as big, if you know. So we'll see if anybody's been able to close it in the past couple weeks.
Right. And while, you know, they're not in this tournament, we might be seeing the resurgence of an old IDDQD team, because moving on to the Gamers Origin Cup, we saw a new team. Do you know what that team is, Jim? It's MyDong.
Yeah, I believe it was MyDong.
It's MyDong. Death, did you like MyDong?
You know, MyDong's not my favorite.
Would you say that MyDong is great? Can you say that?
It's so hard because
when
I want to answer your question the way you asked it, it becomes very different when I answer it, right? So it's like I can't possibly answer it correctly.
If you guys are listening to the show, just fast forward about 8 minutes of giggling.
Yes, because if you don't want to hear the words MyDong, just thanks for downloading. See you next week. As John's been very open about. I'm
very open about MyDong.
Yes, he's a big fan of the Tavikusai army and all the cancerous Twitch chat that comes with being a part of this army. And Pluppy, now Tavik, he actually got his main account in the beta now.
That's so sad.
It is. Pluppy was such a better name, man.
I want the Pluppy account. I want it to come back.
And if anybody has any problems with how we say Tavik's name, I don't care. Sorry.
Tavik is so sick, but Mendo is best friendo. So
is it Tavik? Is it Tavik? Because I heard Hex say he asked Tavik himself, and he said Tavik, and then it came out that it was Tivik, and I don't know. So even though he's supposedly weighed in, we still don't have an answer.
I think it's Tivik.
That's why I don't care.
Spell it out, and we'll see what it is.
Yeah, I don't want to make anybody mad, but there's no definitive answer on how to pronounce his name.
Here's the real question. Two questions here. Who wins the MyDong versus IDDQD matchup? When do we get to see that grudge match? Because that's got to be the most anticipated match. Or maybe Cloud9 versus MyDong, but I want to see IDDQD versus MyDong. And also, we now have the opportunity to turn Overwatch into WWE wrestling when when MyDong is playing a team and then an unknown team comes in and it has a player who's using Pluppy's old account, the actual Pluppy account, and we wonder who the mysterious Pluppy player is. WWE wrestling style. So it's just It's
All
like
I
the
know-
Undertaker taking on multiple identities and like wearing masks. There's going to be people playing the Tavik account, and it's really just going to be Tavik playing both accounts. I can't. This is the craziest time ever. I can't wait for it to happen. I really hope it happens.
I don't know anything about the WWE translation here.
I
with
only
a
know
bunch,
it
but
from like circa 1998.
one thing
if it's
I read on
anymore.
Twitch chat, and I know it's true because I typed it, was that nobody's ever seen the player IDDQD and Tavik in the same room at the same time.
I mean, haven't they played against each other?
Yeah, that's not same room, same time.
Oh, that's true.
If he can play two guys on the same team, he can definitely do it opposite teams.
That is true.
And then he always wins. So
I mean,
there's some benefits.
Has
to that.
Has Tavik actually lost a tournament?
I'm not 100% sure. I think his team before IDDQD, although I'm honestly kind of blanking on where.
He was on like a million teams, remember?
Yeah,
jumping around.
he bounced
But
around.
I think he
that.
won. Remember, we were talking about it. He won everything. Pluppy won everything.
Well, he had a home before he became a free agent, and I think he lost there, and I think he lost his first weekend as a free agent, but I'm not 100% sure. He definitely instantly took his teams from, wherever they were to, a tier better just because of the sheer skill and ability to clear people out when he picks up a damage character,
That
which is
IDQ
every game.
defense.
But him and Mendo seemed to kind of do the same thing for them a little bit. Taimu was with them and Pluppy initially. That was the first combo there. And then Taimu left for Mendo and how, I don't know exactly how that worked, but I don't know if it was this event or the tournament last week, but it wasn't the tournament because that was the one where My Dong won. But like Tavik was actually playing for IDDQD.
Oh yes, that was.
He was like
I think
subbing
that's
for them.
in the Overkill tournament. I think he's.
It
playing.
very well might be. He might currently be on both My Dong and IDDQD, depending on what event it is.
That's true. I do like when Tavik is on My Dong though. That's one of my and Mendo. I love having Tavik and Mendo on My Dong.
I can confirm that. I would have to say that he definitely likes that. I don't know.
Man. You know what the best part about it is that shout outs to ZP and Fish Sticks for going the whole weekend, just without hesitation, just like rattling it off in a completely professional manner. They broke down a little bit, like
yeah, they did a little.
they
bit.
broke down like near the end, but that was just after like ZP finally looked at Twitch chat and it just ate at him. Like,
yeah, there's no.
The number of things he said were just it was just too much to resist. It was
No matter how much they tried to stay pun free with the team name of My Dong, it was never going to happen.
No.
Right? Because eventually they were going to have to penetrate somebody's defenses.
That's true. My Dong was going to have to penetrate someone's defenses.
The terminology that gets used for the game it just couldn't have worked. That there would have been zero puns, and they had to give it into it eventually.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Good job to them though. They didn't let it get ridiculous. It wasn't
like I immediately started with.
Yes, of course. Yeah, obviously, and like everybody should. It's funny. Have a good time with it.
Right. But speaking of Tavik and Mendo being on My Dong, what team are they playing for now? Okay, I'm done. Oh god, dumbest joke ever. But let's actually talk about the tournament.
We have this clean lyrics badge on our podcast.
We do, and we have been clean. Innuendo is not against the terms of service, although for what it's worth, I have not read them.
I was going to say neither of us have read the terms of service, so
God,
we're guessing wildly that we get to.
I cannot read.
Hopefully these guys decide they want to get sponsored someday and come to the next tournament with a real name, as funny as it was.
Well, let's just say that whatever an actual sponsor is willing to pay them, I know I will be donating a nice crisp $10 bill to their Matcherino. So just keep that in mind before you change your name. Not donating to Team Solo Mid. Not donating to Team other esports organization that I can't think of off the top of my head. Viridis Pro. I'm not donating to Viridis Pro. I'm donating to My Dong. Just remember that, Tavik and Mendo. Just remember that.
YouPorn has sponsored gaming teams before.
I
so
will
we might be able to
sponsor.
get
I will
there.
donate to YouPorn's team, whichever team they decide to sponsor. But yeah, so let's actually talk about the tournament. I had to go off on a tangent about my Dong, and it was the best tangent I've ever been on. But so we did see in the Gamers Origin Cup, we did see my Dong reunited, Pretz, and sooner or later in the top 4. And believe it or not, my Dong won the tournament. And they were saying it while it was being played, before it was played, that this reunited versus my Dong might actually be the best match of Overwatch that we've seen yet. They were hyping it up as that, and then it actually happened, and it was pretty close to being the best match I've ever seen in terms of play skill. We ended up on a game 5 on Lijiang Towers, I believe. Yes, it was on Lijiang Towers at the end, and I believe all 3 games went to 99-99.
Yeah, leading up to at least that
been
finals,
game 5.
I want to say the finals didn't have the last round or whatever wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The
It wasn't.
absolute closest.
It wasn't the fifth. It wasn't the fifth. I lied. It wasn't. It wasn't a game 5, but it was.
It was a game 3, but leading up
a
to it,
game
we're
3,
talking
yeah.
about 5-second differences in stopwatch times, and just an incredibly exciting, close Overwatch. I don't know that we've ever seen before. The commentators were saying, and I don't know if they were just hyping the event that was going on at the time, but I tended to agree with them. Probably the closest, most contested match between any 2 teams we've seen. It was really, really something to watch. You go watch the VOD. You know who won, but it doesn't. You're not gonna know with the score going into overtime. You're not gonna know who wins that any given round. So
yeah, every
check it
map
out.
we saw on that Lijiang Towers, it was my Dong started off pretty strong, and then Reunited would come back, cap it to 99, and then my Dong would turn it back, wipe them, get it up to 99, and then there's a huge 1 or 2 minute fight at the end, and my Dong ended up winning. We saw some fantastic play from I believe it was Valataja, or however you say that name. I don't remember playing. I believe it might have been, I don't remember who he was playing. I think it was McCree or Farah, but there was some insane Valataja play that, honestly, if he didn't get some of those picks on the I think it's called Lijiang Gardens. I don't know what the maps are called.
Yeah, I haven't learned the names of each place either.
You can't expect me to remember things or know.
I know
things.
Night Market on Lijiang.
Night Market. It wasn't Night
name.
Market. I know that. It was traditionally map 2.
Okay.
He got some insane picks. I believe it was Farah. Maybe it was McCree. It was either Farah or McCree. Some insane picks.
He's one of the best McCree players.
It was probably McCree then. It got a double or triple that allowed them to recap the point, and then they got to that 99, and then I don't know if it's my Dong having the 3-pronged attack where they're attacking from multiple angles and flanking, or if it's the just coordination.
My Dong too strong is what you're saying?
My Dong too strong is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They'd come back and recap it. It was insane.
Yeah, and just multiple times too. I want to say there was even capture point maps that they played on at least 2, Nepal, and I don't think they did Ilios. But I think there were multiple times where it would change hands in overtime with both at 99 once or twice as well. So like John said, just incredibly close. That finals might be the single best set of Overwatch from the beta. So make sure
that
to
we've seen so far.
You
know, if we see the matchup we've been wanting for weeks, Cloud9 versus IDDQD, which we could see in the playoffs of the Overkill tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, if they can get their IDDQD with Tavik and Taimu, that's not a team combination that has never played before like they were in the Invitational when they brought in AKM. I hadn't seen him play with them anymore. I don't know to what extent they'd played off of tournaments or what have you, but clearly a team that can beat anyone at any given time, given raw talent. So that would be a phenomenal set as well. I'm also would love to see Reunited. They have really stepped up with the step back of IDDQD
Hmm.
and have really taken over that number one EU team, in my mind at least. We don't know to what extent Maidong is going to stay together. That could
Hmm.
have been a 1 week. We're going to play in this event. Go, just
Yeah,
sign up and go. It could be a lineup. I think they might have even had AKM on it,
I
who,
think so.
yeah, it was like playing for IDDQD. So who knows what these teams are going to shake up? I don't no longer think or have any reason to think we'll see a final roster for them before the game opens up and goes live. But we'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see. It'll be really interesting.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting. We've kind of been talking about this story a little bit every week, some weeks more than others, but where are, Tavik and Mendo going to end up? Like, why haven't they gotten picked up yet? I would assume that it's of their own volition that they're waiting out, or maybe they're in talks with some people, or maybe they just don't have the team around them that they're comfortable, signing along with. But, if not the most recognized names in competitive Overwatch in the top, five for sure, Tavik and Mendo. The only one that I can really think that would be more popular is like Siegel, but I feel like that's more from his stream nowadays than his
Yeah, I
actual
think he's
play.
the face, the one individual person that's the best known
Hmm.
in the game from his stream. Just constantly the number one streamer when he decides to go
Hmm.
on. Very entertaining. Check it out if you haven't. But when you list the top five, I think Tavik's name gets in there twice. Once as Pluppy and once as
Yeah,
Tavik.
that
So
is true.
that's
That is
really
true.
saying something when your name appears twice on a list of the top five people in the game.
Yes, but we also now have another, and that is Creation Esports Links.
Oh man,
Oh, the Widow. Oh,
the
that
widow.
Widow. Oh, the Widow play. So strong.
If anybody from Creation is watching, we had talked about when the partnership formed how your best Widow player was going to have to give me private lessons on how to play them and give me all the inside strats. So it's might be time to pay up on that because Lynx is ridiculous.
Yeah. Insane.
From the Overkill GG, we tweeted it. Somebody odd shotted his play because it was just so ridiculous. He's like fighting both Tavik at range on a
Hmm.
Widow and also Internet Hulk as a Winston in his face and Taimu on the ground as a McCree. And all three of the IDDQD guys died. And
Insane.
Lynx is just standing there. And he, like, as he killed Taimu, he's literally like jumping from the top platform down to the ground and like in midair when he fires the shot. It's just ridiculous. Lynx is definitely one of the better Widowmakers in the game from what I've seen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, to kind of go into that point, we saw, if you look at the Overkill standings for Creation at 1 and 3, it's like, that's not really good. But if you actually watch the matches, a lot of them were close. Formerly Flat Earth, who has proven themselves on multiple occasions in the top names in a lot of the Gosu Weekly. So I think we're definitely, I definitely can say without a shadow of a doubt, we have not seen the last of the Creation Esports team, and I think that they're definitely positioning themselves to make a big push when release comes. So.
Yeah, they were one of the few teams that had some success against the old IDDQD, the
Mhm.
Unstoppable Force.
Yep.
They were arguably the better King of the Hill team for
Mhm.
a good little while there, at least a couple of weeks. And, when we had our bet, I even mentioned, you never know. Flat Earth comes against them in a tournament that doesn't have the same map pick rules. That
Mhm.
could really make a big difference. And we haven't seen them go to a different tournament with as far as map picking rules goes, but
Yeah.
nonetheless they will continue to play and continue to get better. I'm very curious to see what they're going to be doing as a group, and we'll have to kind of use our secret Discord knowledge
Yeah, our
to
insider
watch and see if
information.
they're six of them as a team playing Team Fortress 2 or anything like that. And yeah, maybe we can spy on them a little
get
bit,
in
and
on that.
I can get my team
Get some
doing the same exact
And
thing.
the newest member of Creation Esports, Deathblow.
Not moving to Europe, guys.
You don't need to. You just need to be up really late.
That's true.
Or
Yeah, I have
early,
no
I
problem
guess.
with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And learn to play on 250 ping. No thanks.
Well, you never know. But yeah, so let's move on. I had a point that was going to be a really good segue into the next section, but I just completely forgot it. So let's move on to our next segment, and I have the clip ready. So why don't you join me and let's
break it.
There we go. Didn't have to say it, even though I started to say it. Talk about some stuff. We had some interesting shakeups, some lineup changes. We talked a little bit about the lineup changes. My Dong, obviously, some other lineup changes in the midst, but one very big one, and this is kind of an interesting little turn of events. The first team we ever saw get sponsored, Team Envious. We talked about many weeks ago when they first got sponsored, has now officially disbanded. So kind of sad, but also I think in a way it's kind of a good thing. I think if we just saw teams, get into these sponsorships and then just ride them out, regardless of how good or bad the team is, I don't think that the sport, the esport, and the competition itself would grow. I think it probably stinks for the players that got cut or fired. But I think for the esport of Overwatch, I think it's a good thing to see teams make big moves, make roster changes, make decisions where they want to pick up guys, release guys. Again, it stinks when you think about it from a personal player perspective of someone getting fired. That's never good, but I think that the guys, those guys, they're on a sponsored Overwatch team. I think that they, maybe the team comp just didn't jive together. Maybe they just, there were some internal struggles. I think that a lot of those high-level competitive players are going to be able to find a home if they put their minds to it and they put up the results that they need to. But overall, I think it's a good thing to see changes like this. What do you think, Dev?
It's definitely good, and like you said, I mean, it's not really like a regular job in that you're worried about, I mean, obviously the players are still going to be worried about if they have a job or not, but it's so performance based. It's like if a professional football or basketball player doesn't perform, they get cut, they lose their job. The same thing with coaches. That can happen in the middle of a season, and esports, and especially a game that's not out yet, doesn't have seasons like that to kind of differentiate it. And this was a week of just a ton of roster changes. One thing I can tell you, some of these guys, I've scrimmed against them already with some new team compositions, and I'm not going to divulge anybody that might be playing, who might be playing together or anything like that, because I don't know that they want it out, and I want to continue to get scrims against some of these guys. They're all going to find a home. These are all really good players, and sometimes I can tell you from just queuing up with competitive, you have groups that work really well together and groups that don't, and it doesn't speak to individual play skill. It only speaks to team cohesion, and it's just not anything you can worry about too much. If you have to make a change, you have to make it. And the players, everybody, I haven't heard of a single player super jaded and bitter about being cut. So I think everybody's handling it professionally and well. And even some of the situations where you think there had to have been some hard feelings, then you just haven't heard anything about it. I think that speaks to the professionalism of the orgs, the players, everybody involved, and hopefully that continues, because there's no way around the fact that there's going to be changeover on these teams.
Yeah, for sure. And while I do want there to be some drama in esports, I've seen a little bit of it in Heroes and a lot of it in Hearthstone. I don't want it to be over stupid stuff like that. I want it to be over stupid stuff like a mysterious person playing on Pluppy's old account against IDDQD in some sort of weird grudge match at the end of a tournament. That's what I want to see. I want to see Cloud9 sign the old Pluppy account and no one knows who's playing it until the end, and they reveal it was ZP the whole time, playing and casting at the same time.
Oh, that would be super funny. But yeah, I mean, you don't want it to be things where people are actually like, getting hurt or getting really upset about it or anything like that. Like, we want fun drama. We don't want, stuff like this that nobody wants to really hear or read. Or I guess there's plenty of people that do want to read or hear about it, and it's just not me.
Some
but
people like watching a train wreck, I guess.
yes, I mean, the Kardashians have a TV show, for God's sakes.
Truth. I still can't get over that. Oh, that's the greatest story ever written, and it was written by me. But one last thing we wanted to talk about. We've got the new competitive mode, and we talked about it before for competitive play. And there's been talk about that being converted for the tournament play, but until now, we've still only really seen stopwatch mode, with the exception of King of the Watch, right? I don't think we've seen another tournament. I don't think we've seen another tournament with the actual like competitive play rules, right?
Nothing I've seen. Just King of the Watch done it so far.
Yeah, I don't even know if we have the infrastructure in the game to actually run a tournament like that. I think it's kind of clunky right now. I don't think they put it in completely, so that could be one of the reasons. But we've really only seen stopwatch up until now, and the developers have talked about the reasons why they don't like stopwatch. I think it's still fine. I've kind of talked about how I don't particularly like stopwatch as well, but we're also not 100% sold on the competitive mode for tournaments either. And one of the players, someone made a forum post about this, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it. I read an article by Monte Cristo, who apparently is a pro League of Legends caster in Korea, maybe. Okay. Probably someone who's very famous that I just don't know. But he wrote a post basically describing a hybrid mode, and without going into too much detail because we are running a little short on time, it would be like the competitive format. So your best 2 out of 3 matches, Team A plays offense, Team B plays offense once. If it's a tie, you go to a King of the Hill map. Okay, easy enough to understand. What?
If both teams lose, you go to a King of the Hill map.
Or if both teams win?
No, then it's stopwatch.
In competitive mode?
Yeah.
There's a stopwatch?
No, not. Oh, you're talking about what competitive
I'm talking
mode
about
is. I thought you were explaining the new one. Completely my bad.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so... Yeah, no, I don't...
Yeah, you're 100% right. If each team wins, whether it's both on offense, both on defense, in competitive, you go to the sudden death.
King of the Hill. And in the current iteration, it doesn't matter if Team A finishes the map in 2 minutes and Team B finishes it in 7 minutes. They both count as equal, and you go to that King of the Hill, and it's carte blanche, and that's that last thing. That's what it is right now. This Monte Cristo commentator has kind of said, that's fine. I think that the concept there is fine, but you still should reward players for completing faster. It doesn't need to be the entire thing, which was what stopwatch mode is. The only thing that matters is time. But you still should reward players for completing faster. So if Team A completes in 3 minutes and Team B completes in 6 minutes, when they go to the King of the Hill map, the percentage that the teams start with is going to be unequal, and it's going to be unequal based on how fast they got it. So if you finish twice as fast, you're going to have twice as much percentage. That's kind of the theory behind it. So you've got an advantage going into that last match. You're rewarded for doing well in the stopwatch or in the payload portion of the match, but you're not rewarded 100% for it. So if you're behind and you do a little bit worse, you still got a chance to make a comeback, but it's not completely equal. You still get rewarded for going faster. And honestly, I think it's a pretty good format for tournament play, and you've kind of Death, you've kind of agreed with me there, but not so much for the actual competitive in-game single-player non-tournament play. What are your thoughts on it, Death?
Well, now I'm starting to think there's a chance we looked at different systems that were proposed when we tried to see if we were on the same page on this, and we thought we were. that one doesn't bother me that much. I think it would work pretty well for ranked play because it would be nice if it mattered some.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't fix enough of the problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like that it feels, when me and John have talked about this, I want to play on the map that got chosen. I don't like being picked up and thrown into this
Yeah.
Ilios Pit of Doom map, or when we were just on Gibraltar, it feels kind of clunky, and I'm not a big fan of that aspect of it.
I think from a flavor aspect, it's definitely clunky, and we kind of talked about if they made a King of the Hill map specifically like on Gibraltar for the Gibraltar maps, or on Anubis for the Anubis maps. I think that would kind of solve, at least from a flavor perspective.
Yeah, and I don't even mind what you just described as a possibility of maybe improving on ranked a little bit, but like I said, I think they might just want to go they might not have a different direction to go, but they might want to go a different direction instead. What I had actually heard was like, so if you don't complete the map and then the other team doesn't complete the map, so both defensives stand, you go to a third King of the Hill sudden death, just like we have now.
Okay.
But if Team A attacks in 6 minutes and then Team B attacks in 3 minutes, then the faster time would get the win. So it would go to stopwatch in those scenarios. But in the event of a loss, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not splitting hairs about, well, what checkpoint did they make it to? It's like, no,
Right.
They didn't move the payload. Neither of them did. So we're going to go to something else that might actually prove something. And I did like that. But then things were kind of like weighted different. Like, if it was a tournament, you'd get like 3 points for winning this way, or 2 points for winning this way. And it was a little more complicated.
Yeah,
and then
clunky.
he tried to adapt it for a ranked play system, and I thought it went from an interesting tournament concept that might have either at least elements that would be really good for it, to something that just didn't work at all for competitive play. But what you're saying definitely makes sense, and to me, the argument here in the debate and what should be used for tournaments or what should be used for ranked is two completely separate arguments. And what needs to be used for a tournament needs to appeal to both sides, and what needs to be used for ranked play or competitive play only has one side to it, right? Because there's no audience for competitive play. But tournaments have these viewers that are, I'm sorry, players, more important than you.
Oh,
and
for sure.
They're what drives it. So the competitive rules format is phenomenal to watch. It makes more sense. You finish all the maps all the time. I can understand, well, they both win, so you've got to break the tie. It's it's easy to understand from that perspective. It's if the custom game lobby allowed it to work a little bit better, it would be very seamless from a production standpoint. It would be very easy for them to do that, and they would if tournaments wanted to adapt it, I'm sure. So it's been really interesting to see how it's all played out, but for the most part, I think it really just needs to go to what the viewers want to watch. And the players kind of just got to take a back seat to it, unfortunately.
For sure. And I think that may be a little bit of an oversight that we've seen in this beta. I think the stopwatch mode is definitely a legacy of other games with much less of an esports presence and much less of having esports on their mind when they're playing these tournaments. I think that stopwatch makes a lot of sense from a player perspective. And honestly, when you're playing for money, you don't really care if the map ends in the middle of the first checkpoint on Numbani. It's like, oh, well, we lost. Let's just push this to the end and play the next game and just wipe your hands of it. But when you're a viewer and you're watching, it's like, oh, I want to see Numbani. I want to see him play on Numbani. And it's like, oh, well, they got to 2 minutes and 36 seconds. They lost. Let's just push this to the end. It's like, well, you can see the little timer that they do, which, again, isn't even in game, but that's something they could easily fix. The little timer, like, kind of gives you an indication, and it makes it exciting. But, I talked about it before. It's really only exciting if the timer and the end of the map line up together. If you get to the end of the map and the timer is, you still got 3 minutes, that's not exciting. If you get to if your timer is winding down, but you're not even close to winning, then that's not exciting either. So But then, of course, if you have the timer and the end of the map lined up together, you get some very, very exciting experiences. But I don't think that's how you build the scene, at least to start off. I mean, you want those, grandiose esports moments to talk about later and to highlight later, but you can't bank on those like 1 or 2 moments to get people to watch every week, because it's like, they finished it in 2 minutes and 36 seconds. This is unfun to watch.
And every system has those moments. There's not a system that
Right.
that lacks them. It's just,
Right.
do you want it to be as the payload's pushing and they start bringing out tracers to just hold the point and everybody's yelling and it's chaotic there, or do you want it to come down to that sudden death map that we're going to, Ilios or whatever it is, and it gets randomized. So you've got kind of that element to it too, where there's not a comfort level. Nobody picked the map. We're just going there.
Right.
And, so those moments will manufacture themselves in whatever the system is. So you can create them, and I don't think you worry about them. I think you want to worry about what's best for what if the matchup's really lopsided? Like, what if it's just painful and it should be difficult to watch? You don't want that to ever happen in your game.
Right.
And if your tournament set up, there won't be moments like that. And I really think the competitive play setup did a great job for that. In the King of the Watch, I believe we watched a stomp. I think Reunited crushed Gringos. And you wouldn't have necessarily seen that if you didn't know what you were trying to look at when you watched it, because of the rules and the way that they were able to go. The maps just favor offense, right? Like, you get a competitive game on Route 66, congratulations, welcome to sudden death. From second one of seeing that it's Route 66, I assume it's going to be decided on a King of the Hill. That's a problem with the game mode and the way it's set up, but that's not a problem for tournaments.
Right.
The tournaments the players will ban the map or not use the map if they don't like it or think it gives the best representation of, their skill. But I don't know. So it seems to me to be a battle of two competing arguments, and I think one's got to win.
I think that for the health of the game and the scene and competitive scene in general, we need to favor the viewer-friendly matches for sure. And just competitive players, whether it's Overwatch, whether it's Hearthstone, whether it's Magic the Gathering, whether it's I hate to say it, whether it's Halo, whether it's any of the...
Excuse you?
I had to.
We made a promise to our listeners to never discuss that game again. Direct all of your hate tweets to @theblevins.
There's an underscore, _Blevins.
I was trying to help you out and not get you actually any
No,
bring
it. Bring it. I'm ready for it. But yeah, competitive players are very good at adapting to the element that they need to be in. I've seen players trudge through the dredges of broken Magic decks, Patron Warrior, Cancer Hunter, you name the awful broken deck. I've seen people play decks that beat it and win through formats where it was dominating. What's important for the growth of the game is the viewers. I 100% agree with you. Way more important than the players. The players will adapt. The viewers don't have to. The viewers don't have to be watching Overwatch. The Overwatch players need to be playing Overwatch. The Overwatch viewers could just as easily go watch a CSGO tournament or a League of Legends tournament or a Heroes of the Storm tournament. The viewers...
Anytime an Overwatch tournament is on, there's a tournament for another game on as well.
Yes, and it almost certainly has more views for the most part. At least right now. Although we did see about 3K, 3.2K viewers for the Gamers Origin Cup. So I think that was a new high that I've seen at least.
Yeah, and I mean, we're just it's a Monday evening right now, and the Overkill has 1,600. So
yeah,
and that's quite a bit for a Monday evening.
For NA, yeah. I mean, the EU is is like asleep right now. So
yeah, and just to kind of wrap up our
Yeah.
conversation a little bit, I think the problem we were talking about will be fixed a little bit by the opening of the game and the release of it, because when you think about it right now, the tournament organizers need the players more than they're gonna when there's a much wider player base. When the game goes live, there will be no shortage of teams to compete. It won't be difficult to find somebody to fill a spot in the last moment. Nothing. You won't have any of those issues that are a problem now because of the limited player pool. And so the players get to be a little picky, and they could just go, I don't want to play in that tournament. And when IDDQD in their prime was in a tournament, if you heard they weren't playing in it, it was almost like, oh, well, this doesn't count because we're not, whoever wins, it's not like they had to beat them. So, you know, that won't be the case down the road. There'll be huge tournaments. The players will just have to play in them, and whatever the rules are, like you said, they'll adapt to them. So I think we're in for a rude awakening as far as tournaments go and the formats. When the game comes live, I think we'll see a flurry of different ideas and different rule sets, followed by 2, maybe 3 that kind of separate from the pack, and then we'll really focus in on 1, maybe 2 of them as we move in through about the 6-month mark, I'd say.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of improvement and evolution and refinement over the next, year. Once, Overwatch will be coming up on a year, in a year from now, obviously. We'll be here a year from now talking about how far we've come. And I can't wait for it. But I think that's going to wrap it up for our show today. I don't know. Do you have anything else, Death? Any last minute?
Cloud9 up a game on Luminosity.
Ooh, all right. Let's wrap this up so we can go finish that. Death, where can we find you, buddy?
You can find me on Twitter at D3ATHBL0W, or on Twitch, though I'm not going to be streaming a ton. I will still always, occasionally when I'm bored, throw it on. But twitch.tv/D3ATH_BL0W.
Sweet. And you guys know you can always find me at _Blevins on Twitter. You can always find me right here if you're watching live. Hello. You can always find me at twitch.tv/TheBlevins. And we're also streaming live here on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/TheBlevins. You can follow us on Twitter as the podcast at High Noon Podcast. If you really want to send us an email, I don't know if anyone sent us an email yet.
Nope.
Maybe. I don't know.
Still comes to my phone. I mean, we did in the early days.
I actually do check. It also gets sent to my phone. highnoonpodcast@gmail.com. Check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. All that stuff is at /High Noon Podcast, probably. It's all on the Twitter, I think, maybe. I don't know. It's all there. Don't forget to check out our partners for Season 1, Creation Esports and Matcherino. Both great guys. Really appreciate them. And I think that's it. Did I forget anything? I think I got it all.
Just one more thing.
There's one. Oh, that's right. There's one more thing. Please remember, guys. It's none.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now guides my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time.